The observation deck of the Stellar Claw hummed with the usual sounds of a functioning warship, the distant thrum of engines, the occasional hiss of pressurized doors, and the soft beeping of monitoring systems. But today, there was something else. Laughter. Commander Rin of the Velkari Empire stood frozen in the corridor, her silver fur bristling as she processed the scene before her. Her second-in-command, Taro, a young warrior barely past his coming-of-age trials, was supposed to be in the training bay. Instead, he was stumbling toward her, completely covered in white, fluffy foam that dripped from his whiskers and pooled at his feet. "Taro," Rin said slowly, her tail swishing with barely contained irritation. What happened? Behind him, 3 more young Velkari cadets emerged from the training bay, equally covered in foam. They looked like mobile clouds, their normally sleek fur transformed into sudsy sculptures. One of them, a female cadet named Kiva, had foam stacked so high on her head it resembled the ceremonial headdresses of the old empire. The human, "Commander," Taro gasped, trying to wipe foam from his eyes and only succeeding in spreading more across his face. The human said to clean up before training. Rin's ears flattened against her skull. The human. Of course it was the human. 6 months ago, the Velkari Empire had reluctantly agreed to the Galactic Council's integration program. After humanity's unexpected victory in the Kessler conflict, where a single human frigate had outmaneuvered an entire Velkari battle group using tactics the war scholars still couldn't fully explain, the Council had insisted on cultural exchange officers. Rin had been assigned Lieutenant James Morrison, a human from Earth's military, as her ship's tactical advisor. The Council said it would foster understanding. Rin suspected it was punishment for her involvement in the Kessler incident. "Where is Morrison now?" Rin asked, her voice dangerously calm. Taro pointed back toward the training bay with a foam-covered paw. "Still inside, Commander. He said he's supervising the learning experience." Rin's claws extended involuntarily. She took a deep breath, reminded herself that interspecies incidents caused diplomatic problems, and retracted them. Mostly. She pushed past the foam-covered cadets and entered the training bay. The scene inside was chaos. The entire facility, a space designed for combat simulations and strength training, had been transformed into what humans apparently called a foam party. White bubbles filled the air, covering equipment, floating through anti-grav zones, and coating every surface. In the center of it all stood Lieutenant Morrison, completely dry, holding what looked like a modified hull washing apparatus connected to a chemical dispenser. He was grinning, that peculiar human expression that showed teeth but somehow didn't indicate aggression. "Commander Rin," he said cheerfully, as if standing in the ruins of her training facility was perfectly normal. "Great timing. The Cubs are learning an important lesson today." "Cubs?" Rin's voice could have frozen hydrogen. "They are cadets of the Velkari Imperial Fleet, Lieutenant. And this," she gestured at the foam-covered disaster, "is not training." Morrison's grin didn't falter. "Respectfully disagree, Commander. See, I've been watching your training protocols for months. Lots of combat drills, tactical simulations, weapon practice. All good stuff. But you know what I never saw?" "What?" Rin said flatly. "Basic maintenance training. Ship hygiene. Equipment care." Morrison gestured around the bay. "Your cadets can field strip a plasma rifle in 30 seconds. But I asked them yesterday how to properly clean the training equipment. And you know what they said?" Rin said nothing, though her tail had stopped swishing. Always a bad sign. They said, "That's what the maintenance servitors do, sir." Morrison's expression turned serious. "Commander, in the human military, we have a saying, if you don't know how to maintain it, you don't deserve to use it. Your cadets are warriors, sure, but they're also completely dependent on automated systems for basic ship functions. We have servitors for efficiency," Rin countered. "Our warriors focus on combat." "And what happens when those servitors break down in combat?" Morrison asked quietly. "What happens when you're on a damaged ship, systems failing, and nobody knows how to manually cycle the air scrubbers or clean the water recyclers because they've always had machines do it?" The question hung in the foam-filled air. Rin's mind flashed back to the Kessler conflict. The human frigate had been damaged, badly damaged. By all tactical analyses, it should have been crippled, but somehow it had kept fighting, kept maneuvering. The after-action reports had never fully explained how. During Kessler, Morrison continued. Our environmental systems took a direct hit. We lost main power for 6 hours. You know what we did? Every crew member who wasn't actively fighting grabbed tools and started manually maintaining critical systems. We purified water by hand. We cycled air through backup scrubbers we rebuilt from spare parts. We kept that ship alive because every single person on board knew how to do the job of any other person. He gestured to the foam-covered cadets who had gathered in the doorway, listening. Your warriors are excellent, Commander. Best I've seen in terms of pure combat skill. But a warrior who can't survive without their support systems? That's not a warrior. That's a liability. Rin was silent for a long moment. Around them, the foam was beginning to settle, revealing the training equipment underneath. Equipment that, she noticed, was now gleaming clean despite the chaos. So you covered my cadets in industrial cleaning foam, she said slowly. To teach them about maintenance? I told them to clean the training bay before our session, Morrison corrected. They looked at me like I'd grown a second head, said it wasn't their job. So I showed them how humans clean thoroughly and efficiently. The foam? He shrugged. That was them grabbing the hull washing rig without reading the dilution instructions. Classic training moment. Despite herself, Rin's whiskers twitched. It might have been the beginning of a smile. You let them make that mistake. Best way to learn, Commander. Now they'll never forget to check equipment settings before use. Plus, his grin returned. They'll definitely remember that cleaning is part of a warrior's duty. Taro stepped forward, foam still dripping from his fur. Commander, permission to speak? Granted. The human is right. I never thought about what happens if the systems fail. We train to fight, but not to survive independently. He looked embarrassed. Today was humbling, but educational. Rin looked at her cadets, proud warriors of the Velkari Empire, now standing humble and slightly ridiculous in their foam coating. Then she looked at Morrison, this strange human who taught through chaos and questioned everything they took for granted. Lieutenant Morrison, she said formally. Yes, Commander? Next time you plan to revolutionize our training doctrine, perhaps inform me first. Where's the fun in that, Commander? Rin's ears flicked forward, definitely a smile now. And Lieutenant, yes? You're cleaning up this foam thoroughly. Consider it a cross-cultural learning experience. Morrison laughed, that peculiar human sound of genuine amusement. Fair enough, Commander. Fair enough. As Rin turned to leave, she heard Morrison already organizing the cadets into cleaning teams, explaining proper technique and tool usage. They were listening intently now, asking questions, engaged in a way they never were during standard drills. Perhaps, she thought, there was more to humanity's success than just clever tactics. Perhaps it was their understanding that true strength came not from specialization, but from adaptability. From knowing that every task, from combat to cleaning, was part of being a complete warrior. Behind her, someone yelped as they triggered another foam explosion. Morrison's laughter echoed through the bay. Rin smiled fully now, her tail swishing with something that might have been approval. The human was strange, chaotic, and completely unorthodox. She was beginning to understand why the Galactic Council insisted on these exchanges. And perhaps, just perhaps, why humanity had survived every challenge thrown at them. After all, any species that could find lessons in foam-covered cubs might just be worth learning from.